about law of sines and law of cosines. So law of sines, I just want to review it quick with you, just to go through it. All right, remember it was side A over the sine of angle A equals side B over the sine of angle B, and side C over the sine of angle C. We use two of those three when we would set it up, right? Set up a proportion. And remember, in our pictures, angle A is opposite side A. The capital letters were the angles and the lowercase letters were the lengths of the sides. Okay? So we're only going to do two of those three. We know, if we use this first proportion here, A over sine of A equals B over sine of B, we would have known three of those four things. Okay? And I think it was what we had was angle, side, angle. We know two angles and a side, or we have two sides in a non-included angle. We had that, we called it the ambiguous case, where there could be two triangles or no triangles as well as one triangle. Again, we're not going to worry about that, but what we're going to do this week are trig applications. So what we're going to do is have word problems that we're going to solve using law of sines or law of cosines. Or if it's a right triangle, we could use SOHCAHTOA. All right, so that's what we're working on this week, is just word problems where we'll draw a picture of a triangle and solve for an angle or a side to figure out the problem. All these problems were made up by kids like you, but a few years ago. So I just continue to use them. They're just made up problems, and you just figure them out. Okay. Law of cosines was when we had side angle side or side side side. Okay, and that was we had three different ones, but they're all basically the same. If we were using A, let's say we're looking for side A, this is the one we would use. So it'd be A squared equals B squared plus C squared minus 2 times B times C times the cosine of angle A. And we could interchange the, if we were looking for side B, we would interchange the A and the B. So we'd have B squared equals A squared plus C squared, and then minus 2AC, and then cosine of angle B. If we interchanged and we're looking for side C, we'd use the C squared one, equals A squared plus B squared minus 2AB, cosine of angle C. So those are just interchangeable, the A's and the B's and the C's, depending on what information you were given. Okay? When it was side angle side, again, those were the two situations, side angle side and side side side. We would use that. When it was side angle side, whatever angle you were given, that's the side you had to look for. Okay, so if you're given angle A, you'd be looking for side A, this one that I wrote out. And you can put everything in. The two sides would be B and C, and then the angle given would have been angle A. You could put all that in your calculator, and you get an answer. Then remember to take the square root of that answer to find the length of side A. Okay, if it was side, 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 remember we were supposed to find which side, which angle. Which one? The largest one, right? So if you had that side, side, side situation, so those of you that still have to take the quiz, listen up. All right? If you have that situation, you're looking for the largest angle first. And then remember, we only used the law of cosines once, and then when we had to find the rest of the triangle, we'd go for the smaller of the two remaining angles using the law of sine. Okay? And just to quickly go over, if in your word problems you get a right triangle, let's see if I get a nice looking one here. Okay, so we got this right triangle. So we got our right angle here. Okay, so that would be angle C. And then we'll just say this is A and B. And this is side A, remember? This is side B. This is side C, which is our hypotenuse, remember? And we could use Pythagorean theorem. You know, A squared plus B squared equals C squared for our sides if we need to. And then we have SOHCAHTOA. If it's a right triangle. Okay, we use law of sines and cosines when it wasn't a right triangle. So let's quick review on the trig we've been doing. And then this week we're just doing word problems. And we're going to use law of sines, law of cosines most of the time. Or if it's our picture is a right triangle, we could use this SOHCAHTOA stuff or the Pythagorean theorem to solve our word problem. Okay? So nothing really new. We're just doing word problems. Okay? We're going to do the same schedule. We'll do some practice today and tomorrow. Practice quiz Wednesday. We'll go over Thursday. Quiz will be Friday. All right? So let's look at an example. So it says Kimmy drives 7 miles to DJ's house. Then Kimmy and DJ drive 18 miles to Steve's house. Later, they all go back to Kimmy's house. If the angle at Kimmy's house is 83 degrees and the angle at DJ's house is 29 degrees, how far is Steve's house from Kimmy's house? Right, so we're just drawing a picture of a triangle, right? So let's use this one. All right, so we'll draw a picture, okay? And then it doesn't matter, you know, so we'll say Kimmy starts here and goes to DJ's, and then the two of them go to Steve's. All right, so we'll just do it like that. All right, Kimmy drives 7 miles to DJ's, so this would be 7. And then from Kimmy and DJ drive 18 miles to Steve, so from here to here is 18. Later, they go back to Kimmy's house. If the angle at Kimmy's house is 83 degrees, and the angle at DJ's is 29, how far is it from Steve's to Kimmy's? So we're looking for that distance. Okay? So, which law could we use? Law of sines, law of cosines, or should we use SOHCAHTOA stuff? Law of sines, right? Because we got an angle and a side opposite. We got this angle, and we're looking for that opposite side. Okay? So we would go, I would go 18, and you could use the 7 if you want to try to find this angle. How would we find that angle if we wanted to use that angle? Yeah. Those two together subtracted from 180, right? But we don't really need to find that. So 18 over the side of 83 equals x over the side of 29. Remember, it's the side and the opposite angle that we do the fractions for. Does that make sense how to set it up? Eaton, making sense? Wagner, making sense? Any questions? Okay, so then we're going to, we're going to go x times the sine of 83, cross multiply, equals 18 times the sine of 29. And then we're going to divide by the sine of 83 to figure out that x. So we got to make sure we're in degree mode on our calculator. It pops up. There it goes. All right, so 18 Oh, I should check, sorry, let me clear that out. Hit my mode button, I'm in degree mode, so I'm good there. All right, so 18 sine of 29, remember, close that up, that parenthesis, divided by sine of 83, and that'll give us our answer. So 8.8 miles would be our answer. So that's all we're doing. We're just setting up, draw a little picture of it, set it up and figure out if you're going to use the law of sines or law of cosines. Any questions? That one makes sense? You remember a little bit from a few weeks before? No questions? All right, let's look at another example. All right. So it says Kevin decided to visit Mike at the hospital, but first got a card at the store. He drove 13 miles to the store. After giving the card to Mike at the hospital, Kevin drove 17 miles home. The angle of Kevin's house is 49 degrees. How far is the store from the hospital? Okay, so again, we're just going to draw a picture of a triangle. Nothing about a 90-degree angle or anything, so we're just going to do one like this. Okay. So we'll say Kevin started here at his house. He wants to go visit him at the hospital, but he got a card at the store. So he goes to the store first. So I'll put this is the store, and over here is the hospital. Yeah, it doesn't matter which one you make. Store and hospital. Okay. So 13 miles to the store. So this side, let's change the color here. That's 13 miles. After giving the card to Mike, Kevin drove 17 miles home. So from the hospital back home. So that's 17 there. The angle at Kevin's house is 49. How far is the store from the hospital? So we're looking for that distance. So we got a side angle side situation. So what law are we going to have to use? Sine or cosine? Cosine, right? All right, so we're going to look for that side. So we're going to make that here. And then we're going to take the two other sides and add them. And then 2 times those two sides. Cosine of the angle, which was 49. That makes sense? Setting it up? So the first one we had 2 angles and the opposite sides, so we're going to use law of sines. In this one, we had 2 sides and the included angle, so we had to use law of cosine. We just got to figure out which law we want to use to solve it. Usually once you got your picture drawn, you guys can figure that out. Okay, so this is one that I can put in my calculator, the whole thing. All right, so I can do the 13 squared plus the 17 squared minus 2, 13, 17 cosine of 49. So I can put all that in my calculator, and I get that 168.0, just 168, I guess. So remember, I have to take the square root of that answer. The square root is second squared button, and then second answer, so I'm not typing it in again. So 12.96, basically 13 miles from the store to the hospital. Okay. Those two examples make sense? Okay. So what I'm going to do is give you a little worksheet, and I want you to do number one, and we'll give you a few minutes to do it, and then we'll go over it. And we'll just get through as many as we can until, maybe we'll do 2 or 3 for practice, and then we'll call it a day. Any questions? All right. Again, there will be no homework. This is your work. It's just doing stuff in class. So just try to do number one right now. And then we'll go over here in a couple minutes. Again, just draw a little picture and then figure out if you've got to use again, sometimes these aren't worded the best because they were just made up by CP math students, but usually we can figure it out. If you run into issues, let me know. I'll come help you.
So what is this? Are you eventually going to have a sleeve?
Yeah, I'm trying to do them. $4
On my leg.
like 4 of these things.
Then I need my leg.
Yeah, saved my life.
No, they're just sided. I'm on the side. Then Betty said I need a big thing.
No, you know you need to get it. There's a Macy right here. Like a plug or
If you wanted to. Want to have a, you don't have an A this time, like mark?
No, Mark up here, then Christopher on the
Easy for us, right?
For being that, just get it from Instagram.
Why would you cover that up though?
I would.
No, but like, what would you change it into?
What? I got.
Yeah.
Well, first off, I just never do that. You already got that, right? Oh, that was the other one. Oh, that's right.
When I did the tour, it was.
Read it. No, he's. Oh, that's it.
So everything will be fine. All right, so most of you have got that first one. So, let's do a quick picture of it. Guess I should have it in front of me so I can. So Logan's trying to find out, what he likes best. So we got Strickland's, and DQ, and handles, all right? And he started at Strickland's and then went to Dairy Queen, so it's 4.9 miles between those two. And then 5.7 between DQ and handles. And Dairy Queen's angle there was 74. And we want to figure out from handles back to Strickland. Okay, so we got that side angle side again. So just like the second example, right? So we're going to say x squared equals 4.9 plus 5.7, then minus 2 times 4.9, 5.7 cosine of 74. So you put all that in and take the square root, and a lot of people are getting 6.4, right? Okay, we okay with that one? Simple, right? Okay, let's try number 2. We did this one for Jacob, but he's not here. Stern, he likes to hunt, right? Some of you other guys like to hunt too, right? So he's in a tree stand, so he's up in a tree. So let's see how you do on that one. Go back to the answers to those somewhere. What's the matter, brother? Are you done out on me?
What was the thing?
Up in the trees there, right?
Yes. Yes, and it's just be hard. No, we had to go to Ravenna. It's cheaper because the guy who's like, yeah, we used to have you for other like that. I was supposed to. Like, what is it? Like, bro, it's one of those things that it's some stupid basic one. Do you have a lot of color on that? No. Airmail. Huh? I don't know, we tried something that started inside here and out here. Inside the box one, I think it started out here. Then we get up there. Yeah. I don't know.
Picture of you, the, what, 330 boy? BOI, is that how you answer it?
I probably do.
Yeah. Not really. Because, you know, up in the tree where we put here, the hunter, and over here, it's down here. So, that's how I would think about it.
Everything is real.
All right, so some of you aren't sure on this one, but think about what's happening. Pat's up in a tree, right? Tree stand. So most trees are straight up and down, right? So I would draw a picture of a right triangle. Okay? So Pat, the hunter, is up here and the deer is down here. So we got a 90-degree angle, right? It's 62 feet directly from Pat to the deer. So the hypotenuse is 62. Now that 59, okay, that 59-degree angle, okay, is it this one? It's, if you look straight out, that would be 59 there, not inside. So down here, inside, is the 59. Okay? So that might have been where you made the mistake. You might have put the 59 up in the triangle there, but actually, a hunter does this and goes down. So the 59 would have been, he's looking out and he sees the deer walking towards him, wait until he gets closer. All right? So the 59 is from the ground, from the deer to the ground up into the hunter to Pat. Okay? So we're looking for this. All right? So since it's a right triangle, we can use the SOHCAHTOA stuff. Now, the law of sines will still work. So if you don't want to worry about that, we could use the law of sines because we got this angle and that side opposite, and we got this angle's 90 and that side opposite it. So that still should give you the same answer. Okay? But I'll do SOHCAHTOA. Now I've got this as my reference angle, this 59. So the X is which side? Opposite, adjacent, or hypotenuse? Opposite, right? And the 62 is the what? Hypotenuse. So which one uses opposite and hypotenuse? Sine, right? So the way I would set this up is the sine of 59 equals X opposite over hypotenuse. So what do I got to do to solve for X? Right, going to multiply both sides by 62. Oops, not 6.2, but 62 times the sine of 59. So that's what my answer is going to be. 62 times the sine of 59 degrees. 62 sine 59 So he's pretty high in that tree. Most guys aren't gonna get up that high. But again, 53 feet would be how the height you got up. Now, if you did it with law of sines, it should give us the same answer. Let's see if it does. Okay, so we would go x over the sine of 59 equals 62 over the sine of 90. Okay, so we would cross multiply x times the sine of 90 equals 62 times the sine of 59, and then divide by the sine of 90. So let's just see if that gives us the same answer. So I already did 62 times the sine of 59, so that's already in there, divided by the sine of 90, which I think is just 1. Get the same thing, 53. Okay? So, even though it's a right triangle, if you're using law of sines, it should still work out. Law of cosines should work too, but normally, if it's a right triangle, you don't really need to worry about the law of cosine. Okay? Let's try one more. Let's do number 3, and then we'll call it a day. You guys have done a good job for first day back. We only got about, what, 8 weeks? Less than that, right? Because you guys get out a little quicker, right? A little earlier, so maybe like 6.5 weeks. Gonna go quick.
Can't find that, right?
Yeah.
Good thinking.
Again, just draw your picture, fill in your numbers, and then think about which law you have to use. Law of sine for cosine, SOHCAHTOA.
What are you looking for? I'm good at.
Okay.
Which one's which? Right? That side is for this thing, right? That. Right? So. Okay, that's why I would label it, so you don't make that mistake.
All right, you guys, the ones I've checked real quick, look right. So hardware, flea market, and kitchen. All right? So it says, we got Jessica, she's going from the hardware. After she goes there, she's going to the flea market, which is 733 feet from the hardware. So this is 733. The angle at the flea market up here is 38. And the angle at the kitchen is 70. How far is it from the flea market to the kitchen? So we're looking for this. Okay? So I've got an angle and an opposite side. So I can use law of sines, right? So I'm going to go 733 over the sine of 70 equals x over the sine. Well, I got to figure out this angle here, right? How do I figure that out? Subtract these two from 180, right? Which is 72. When we cross multiply and divide, Matt, what do we get?
741.9.
Right. Matt was feet this time. Any questions? These making sense? Pretty easy, right? All right, good job today. I'll give you all a 5. Good start.